Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Absolute chaos in the VCT last night with roster drama going down everywhere. Two major changes it seems. G2 confirming their shock replacement for Leaf for Stage 2 while he continues to suffer through some health complications. Hopefully he's back and better soon, but for the time being they have a real surprise change. And then the 100 Thieves drama hits the timeline after a difficult time out in Riyadh, and over the last few months of 100 Thieves underperforming their expectations, it seems Boostio is going to be dropped off the lineup. Their replacement, that particularly becomes interesting as well. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Let's just dive right in. Predictions were back yesterday from Zelsis because the VCT is back all the way around the world. I'll just quickly mention it because I'm on the Spike.gg rather than VLR because the video I made a couple of days ago got a strike for... I don't even really know, but I think on VLR there's like links to these gambling sites that Google considers to be, let's say, unauthorized. And even if you show any of that stuff on the screen, even if you don't talk about it, then it can fall under like a community guidelines violation under regulated goods. So that video got like a strike basically and got totally deleted. And if it happens again, then this channel gets shut down for a week. So I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another site where that stuff hopefully shouldn't be so much of a risk. So anyway, that's a quick explanation there. And let's just talk about it. So this is in the Pacific, and there's lots that happened over the last couple of days. You guys can see DRX did take down Longshim 2-1. T1 beat Boom Esports 2-0 as well. Boom Esports, of course, they've had a very interesting few months because they had such a strong time of things last time out of it. If we look back at their matches, right, their results earlier in the season were really impressive, right? They beat Gen.G, they beat Global Esports, they beat PaperX, they beat DRX, but a lot of these results went down in times where some of those teams had some degree of internal turmoil. That's now turned around quite substantially lately, and maybe it's a bit of a regression to the mean, let's say, for Boom Esports. They went down to T1 2-0. This is the game of today, or a couple of games going on today. This is the current live match between Global Esports and Team Secret. Team Secret up 1-0, but it looks like Global Esports are about to get it back on Corrode, potentially. I mean, it's a 9-3 half, and we know what the 9-3 curves sometimes look like there, but also it's a pretty defensive-sided map as it stands. So that game continues. In Europe, we had a couple of big results yesterday. Heretics took down BBL 2-1, and then Fnatic, they took down KC in an absolute banger series, right? So obviously Fnatic would be expected to win this series with relative ease. Kayak again with a real monster performance, as with Crashies. But yeah, Ave and KC, they've definitely made some strides, right? Recently, Sadak has definitely put together a more competitive team over there. They were pretty good out in Riyadh, and then they've come in here and yeah, they've lost the bind, but they've then won the Lotus, which is very, very difficult to do against Fnatic. And then they've won, well, they've lost the Icebox 13-11. It was a very close fought affair. So yeah, fair play. Fnatic get the win, they advance, they move on, but KC can't be too dissatisfied with the way that things have got on their side, as Boostio says. Tough few weeks, because at the end of the day, they've just come back from Riyadh, making the finals, devastating defeat. It's not easy to get back and then immediately crack on again. So I think, you know, commendable from both teams on that one. Just quickly in China, the results continue to go down. We saw this Wolves Esports All Gamers result, and I know that there was some discussion on like what the hell happened here. How did it go this way? Sufa actually did a tweet about it, I think, and said like that was just so embarrassing that I lost in that way. I can't believe it. I don't know if they've got his Twitter linked here so I can easily go to it. Yeah, here we go. So I'll just find his tweet real quick because he did mention it. I know there has been some talk about the map pool, right, and the changes that were made not really benefiting Wolves by any means, and unfortunately for Sufat, it was actually his birthday, and he said that he feels terrible about it. No words to say. They're going to try and fix the problem. So yeah, wishing them the best of luck with that, because they're certainly going to need to try and turn things around. And then the other game, Billy took down JD in a 2-1 fashion, and it looks like this morning there might be some other games going on as well. Yeah, Tyler are currently playing TEC, and then we have Trace Esports versus Edward Gaming as well coming up shortly after. So that's what's happening around the world of Valorant. Last night there were two big results in the Americas. Furia got 2-0 smoked by Cloud9. I know that at this point there's lots of community frustration around Furia. It doesn't seem to matter what team they put together. They just get bodied regardless. 13-5 Haven, 13-4. So it's frustrating to me and to many others that you look at the state of the VCT in the Americas and you see the fact that G2, despite all the success that they have had, if they hadn't qualified for this year's World Championship, they would have been knocked down again. Like, they would have been eliminated from the VCT because they're a guest team, right? They're not an official partner team. They will be reviewed reviewing the partnerships next year, but Furia, they need to get their act together and fast if they're going to want any hope of keeping that partnership spot, I would say. Because, yeah, they're a big popular organisation, but they have done nothing really over the last few years. And then Louds took down Lev. So this was actually a banger series. All the maps are pretty close here. And Luxo, yeah, he's a good find. He's definitely a good find for this Loud outfit. Plus 18 in the end. They won the bind 13-10 did Lev with their changes. Of course, Sato coming in, Okonos coming in. Sato was 31 in 15 game 1 to get them the win. They lost the Ascent with a big game 2 from Luxo. And then the Icebox was, yeah, a frustrating way to lose, right? I mean, they had such a strong second half. They won both pistols. Lev will have felt confident, but then Loud won the last 4 rounds in a row to go from 11-9 down to winning 13-11. Pancada with a big takeover. So, yeah, gutting for Lev. There was a bit of drama about it because over the last couple of days, Lev were predicted by FNS not to make it through the group, and then Lev say, oh, well, we'll come to this one later, and maybe we'll come back to this one as and when things change. And then there was a tweet here from their top man who said, disaster. This guy in the reply said it was obvious that this was going to happen. The team doesn't work. Tex and Com are terrible players. And then Fernando then says, do your own team and then we'll win. So pretty funny. But basically their CEO was crashing out a little bit on the timeline. And to be fair, I don't really blame him. But I was crashing out when I saw the replacement for Leaf. So G2 Valorant, we know that Leaf unfortunately is unwell right now. We're not really sure what exactly is going on. There have been some theories that have been totally unsubstantiated. So I'm not going to get into it at all. We simply don't know. It's a medical condition with no other explanation for now. That's totally fine. But hopefully Leaf gets better soon. What I do find intriguing about this is that Leaf has said nothing. Like, he's not tweeted. He's not, I don't know, like, why exactly? I hope that all's okay, but I was kind of, especially with this announcement, I was kind of expecting Leaf to come out and say, look, you know, I'm going through this right now. I hope to be back as soon as possible. Best of luck to the replacement, and we'll get into it in a second. But we've heard nothing from Leaf at all. He's not tweeted anything. So, yeah, just hope all's well over there. But G2 confirm it because he wasn't in Riyadh because of this, and we thought, okay, maybe he's going to be okay again. That I think the implication at the time was that maybe Leaf was suffering with something which meant he couldn't travel, right? But we maybe thought that he might be okay to still compete, let's say, domestically. But that does not seem to be the case. So G2 confirmed they're going to play with a sub until he's fit to return. Wish him a speedy recovery. They play with their assistant coach out in Riyadh, and obviously that didn't really go to plan. Now, this was confirmed yesterday, and so we talked about Josh RT's tweet, and he put out the 24.6 years, which implied that the additional player was going to be 30 years old to the team that they had on their starting 5. And we were trying to think, okay, who's 30? Who's 30 that could play? Does it really make any sense? And I was very close to actually looking up players who, because there's barely any active players who are 30. So especially like who would be from the Americas, right? So I was almost going to look it up and say, okay, which players could this be? I looked at Shazam and he was like 31. And I was like, well, you know, that's not going to work quite. So, but I would realistically, I would never have really thought that Babybay here would be the option, right? Like, I think that as much research as people could have done and theories that they could have come up with, the idea that Babybay was the man for the job is still crazy. And I know that even when they confirmed this yesterday, there were people saying, damn, you know, maybe it's just he's a content creator and they've actually got a different fifth, right, for the team. But no, this is official. Babybay is in and Babybay is the sub for the team. He's back. You know, Babybay was a solid player when he played. Like, I rated his play. Yeah, is he, on paper, the perfect replacement for the role they need for Leaf? Not necessarily, but I don't know, maybe he can get the job done. He's been a caster, he's been an analyst for a little bit of time, and now he's been added to the team with a contract. So, yeah, Sintils are like, Babybay? Like, what do you mean? And it was officially confirmed, as Josh RT says, well, we prioritise Leaf's recovery and await his return. We think that Andre can support the team with what they need most right now. Leaf brought the vibes up during games, and Babybay was able to perfectly replicate that energy with the guys. With Babybay having worked as a caster and analyst over the past year, he's demonstrated a deep understanding of opposing teams' playstyles and knowledge of the game that impressed us. The scene still had tons of talented players, so never count out someone just because they're not currently on a team. So very interesting, right? Like the explanation there to say, look, yeah, maybe Babybay's not the player that he used to be. Maybe he's not quite Leaf, but he's going to bring the energy and he knows a lot about the way that the other teams are going to play. And I don't know, maybe that's going to be enough. So crazy timeline, really. And as Babybay says, going to do my best to stand into it. He's ready to go crazy. I always said I wanted to play on stage for Valorant, and 3 years later, G2 gave me the opportunity to do so. Never give up on your dreams. You can achieve anything. So I thought that was amazing, really. And what a timeline. I don't know. I would not have predicted Babybay to be back by any means, but it makes that G2 team particularly compelling for Stage 2 until hopefully Leaf is ready to return in due course. But the crazy thing is, that was not the crazy roster drama of the day, at least the most impactful roster drama. This is the most impactful roster change because there were rumours emerging last night that Boostio is set to be benched by the 100 Thieves organisation. Now, 100T we've talked about for quite a while now, the struggles with respect to their expectations. Yes, they went to Riyadh, they had a challenging group, but they still got bodied out of that group immediately, and they frankly bottled their game against Edward, a team that didn't even make it through regardless. So Boostio, yeah, sure, over the last couple of years, he's played well and been a good in-game leader, but statistically, it's been a very difficult year for him, right? And that is maybe being generous. And as a result, the question always becomes, could you do better in terms of firepower? Now, for sure, many people would look at some other players on the team. I think that after this season, if 100T, if it doesn't work out for them, they don't qualify for the World Championship, for example, and clearly they don't feel confident to do so with the current roster that they had. I think people will look at Asuna and say, you've been there years, what have you done? I think that might be a fair question, but the team clearly feels like, or the decision makers clearly feel like, they cannot win or achieve the success they want when Boostio is not delivering in the server, and maybe his in-game leadership hasn't been quite as strong as it could have been because, you know, look, VCT Tracker, how valid is this source? Questionable, but Purist comes out, who's been pretty reliable, and says, just so we're clear, I can confirm Boostio has been benched from the team. Boostio even did a tweet about it, and they didn't say anything more on the matter for now, so we'll see. But it seems like he's like, yeah, maybe this actually is going through. Even James FF, who also did some leaks and some reporting back in the day, says end of an era. So just to kind of imply that, yes, this does seem to be the case. There was then talk, who's going to be the replacement, right? If it's not Demon 1 for G2, is it Demon 1 for 100T? Is that what they're going to do? But no, it looks like they're signing Kess. So Kess played for QOR, an initiator, but certainly not an in-game leader. So the rumor is this is the team of 5. Kess, Xander, Cryo, Asuna, EU. And I imagine Xander is set to be the in-game leader there. He's done it before. I think maybe he could do a solid job of it. That's going to be their team of 5. So, yeah, I don't know. Very intriguing to see how this goes. But Boostio out of 100T after a pretty shocking season so far. Babybay in for G2. It's all going on as the Americas is set to get back underway, right? And we'll just have a look at how that is going to play out tonight here, Americas Stage 2. The upcoming matches are as follows. EG versus 2G, and then Crew versus MIBR tonight, and then 100T play NRG tomorrow, which is going to be massive in terms of those teams' respective seasons. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.